This is the Worker Power Hour with Randy Korgan on the Teamsters Local 1932 Broadcast Network. We're back. Great to be back in the saddle here. Great to be back off this break. Actually, man, I'm really excited about this next guest that we have on the show. We have Vince Saavedra, the Secretary-Treasurer of the Nevada Building Trades, right here on our show. It's going to talk about some exciting things that are going on in Nevada right now. Instead of me blabbering on, I'll be talking here in a few minutes. Vince, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks. Vince Saavedra. I'm the Executive Secretary-Treasurer to the Southern Nevada Building and Construction Trade Unions.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. And, we have a mutual friend, Tommy Blitch.
Yeah, absolutely. He called me yesterday and asked if I was coming on the show, and so he shared a little bit of your guys' background and history. So I feel a lot more comfortable.
He's a great guy. Hey, do you mind? I actually have him on the other line. You mind if I pull him in and
Yeah,
split the screen?
not at all. I think that'd be great.
We had Tommy as our guy is bringing him in here. We had Tommy on the show, a few months back. Obviously, Tommy and I have been friends a very long time. Tommy, we can hear you.
What's going on, guys?
Hey. Can you introduce yourself, Tommy, real quick? And you got an echo. I'm not sure why.
Don't know why. Let me make sure I'm in my car driving. Is that better?
Yes. Let me see. Yep, that fixed it. Tommy, okay. Vince, I think you guys know each other.
Yeah. How you doing, Tommy? Good to see you again.
Hey,
good to
Vince,
see you guys.
Actually, we're still picking up an echo on you, Tommy.
So
why don't you put it on mute unless you talk, Tommy? That's probably the best way to do this. All right. Vince, can you just take a couple seconds or a minute or so to explain? First of all, we really appreciate you coming on the Worker Power Hour. We obviously have this live radio show and podcast set up here where once a week we actually do a live show, and then every single day, Monday through Friday, we have multiple slots where we take our shows, break them up, and we actually put them out, and we're blasting out to thousands and thousands and thousands of people every day, trying to make sure we get the word about labor out and just trying to be innovative and occupy a space that others, typically haven't, especially when it comes to labor. Corporate America seems to be occupying this space all the time. And all I'm trying to do is make sure that we, kind of ante up our game a little bit and get here so that listeners understand, especially our members here in Southern California, and we do have members all over the country. Excuse me, we do have listeners all over the country. Why don't you describe what your organization does?
Sure. So I basically run the trade association for the construction union in Southern Nevada. In Southern Nevada, we have 20 construction unions, and I represent 19 of the 20 of the construction trade unions here in Southern Nevada. So we do things like fight for project labor agreements on projects to assure that there's a skilled and trained workforce on every construction job here. We fight for legislation for workers' wages, benefits, and conditions. And as of recently, we've been finding out that, when you have these companies coming to town, to Nevada, and asking for tax credits or abatements, that we're able to make sure that the new projects are built using construction labor so that we could help them advocate for those things through the legislative process.
Awesome. And from what I understand, news outlets are reporting that the Southern Nevada Building Trades are advancing a new legislative agenda with a bill that includes 2 new film tax credits. You guys are currently working on that right now.
Yes, that's our priority. So the Nevada legislature is interesting in the sense that we have part-time legislators, and so what that means is our legislative session is every other year for only 120 days. So they're not full-time legislators. They don't make a bunch of money, but they have to come back and live for 20 months with the laws they create in those 120 days. So it's unique in that sense. So the governor has said he's going to call a special session. We're fighting hard to try to get this put on the agenda for the special session. There's rumors that it's going to be in a couple months. A couple weeks. Nobody really knows, but this has been our priority, is to try to get the governor a good vote count and see if we can't get some of our friends of labor to help us push that agenda.
Tommy, again, appreciate you jumping on the show at the last minute, Tommy. I know you're in bargaining and you've agreed to jump in here. You got anything you want to add to this?
Well, hopefully I'm not echoing anymore.
You're not. You're good.
Right on. No, and I didn't mean to jump in on Vince's parade. like we talked about yesterday, I'm the principal officer at Teamsters 631 here in Las Vegas. We are part of the building trades. And I think that Vince is a great interview for you, Randy. I think you and Vince are a lot alike. Um, Vince has done a great job rebuilding the building trades. When he took over his position, the Teamsters were not in the building trades. I don't believe the laborers were, the operator and engineers weren't. Uh, Vince was able to bring everyone back into the fold, into the building trades, and he is a true unionist and a true good dude. So you picked a good guy to have on your network.
Well, we appreciate that. Vince, what do you got to say about
Oh,
this guy? And
thanks,
Tommy, can
Tommy.
you hit mute real quick? Tommy, when you're not talking, I need you to hit mute. Perfect.
No, thanks, Tommy. I really appreciate it, man. That means a lot. Tommy might not know this, and I'm not just blowing smoke. I've looked up to him. There are several guys that when I came into to being just a business agent with the ironworkers out of Local 416, I would look to people like Tommy and some of these other guys that have been around a lot longer than I have, kind of taking the same approach in the trades of unofficial journeyman, and I was the apprentice because I'm the new guy. So I would just watch from afar and try to plagiarize.
Uh-oh, we just lost Vince.
So
There he
that's
goes.
what that's what did you guys lose me? I
I
apologize
did.
if
We
you did.
lost you
Sorry.
at. I've been trying to plagiarize
Oh, all
Tommy.
their good moves. Yeah, all of Tommy's good moves, and I'm a firm believer. Just because, like I said, I've been an apprentice in the trades and doing all that, you learn how to learn from the best, and you also learn from the worst and what not to do. So I've been blessed to have some strong union leadership around me throughout my career.
I don't know if either one of you wants to comment on the current state of collective bargaining and the attack on collective bargaining in this country right now. But if you want to talk a little bit more about what you got going on in the building trades in Southern Nevada or what's going on in the broader labor movement, we've got about 12, 13 more minutes. You've got the floor. Our listeners would love to hear from you, your perspective, either on what you're doing there locally, as well as how you view what's going on nationally.
Do you want to jump? Do you want to answer that, Tom?
Yeah, I think you should go first, Vince.
Okay, I'll go first. So for us here locally, like I said, legislatively, we try real hard to fight to ensure that all of our collective bargaining rights are secure. We're doing what we can here, and we have a couple federal contracts here, and I'll let Tommy touch on that. But we really try to lean on our friends. We've been blessed. Yes, we have a Republican governor. Who seems to be fair to construction labor. I'm not going to say he's a friend to labor because I don't even know if he would like that. But we've been blessed to have, even though we have a Republican governor, we have two U.S. Democratic senators who have continuously had our back and proven to us that they are true friends of labor in the D.C. So we've been blessed to be able to have somebody who will pick up the phone when we call them, even if they are U.S. senators and fight for us there in DC and here locally. I don't know if Tommy.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
before we get to Tommy, from what I understand, at least talking to Tommy and others, your senators have been really, really communicative. They contact you. They talk to you ahead of issues. They really seek your advice. They are real partners in labor, unlike a lot of others in this country. That's always been what I've heard from the outside. Obviously, I'm not from Nevada, but that's what I've heard. Tommy, did you want to add to this?
Yeah, I agree with Vince. I think that we're kind of living in one of these states, I guess you would call purple. We have a Republican governor and a Republican uh, lieutenant governor, but everyone else seems to be blue. Um, and we're living in this world right now where everyone's either red or blue, and they're taking a side. And I don't think they appreciate our senators that we have. Jackie Rosen and Catherine Cortez Masto are there time and time and time again for labor. And I agree with Vince. Like, our members don't know how good they've got it with these two. And just because they're Democrats don't mean they're bad people, because they have our backs all the time.
Yeah, Vince, you got anything you want to add to that?
No, he's 100% right. I look, I love the state I live in. I'm originally from Southern California, but I've lived in Nevada longer than I lived in California. I was born and raised in Fontana, moved here when I was 17, and been here ever since. And I love Nevada and how we 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 are split. I love that Nevadans vote for the person and not always necessarily the party, and that's one of the benefits to living here. And I say that with good intention, because, like Tommy said, it's not always a partisan issue, and especially in the membership that I represent, um, it's mixed. And so it makes me feel good to know that our members vote for the person and not the party all the time. And I say that to say, like, it keeps everybody on their toes. It keeps the Dems on their toes, the Republicans on the toes, because we're unique in Southern Nevada that 73% of Nevada's residents live in Clark County, which is the Las Vegas area. So it's a powerful thing to be here. Unlike other states, and like I said, having the part-time legislature, it gives us a whole new dynamic. And so we're blessed to be able to have access to our friends like Senator Rosen and Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, as well as all the folks in the legislature. And like I said, I mean, you could these folks have to come home and have day jobs when they're done with the legislature. So you could go visit them at work or go have lunch with them. So it's unique, and I think we're truly blessed.
Yeah, well, first of all, got some common ground here. I grew up in Fontana myself, so
Oh, really?
almost my entire childhood was growing up in Fontana. I wasn't born in Fontana. I was born in Upland at San Antonio, but essentially lived in Fontana my entire childhood, and then moved to San Bernardino. Anyway, so we probably hung out in some of the same neighborhoods. Maybe I might be a little older than you, but you know, you know,
That,
us guys from Fontana, we all know what being from Fontana is.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny because Tommy said we're a lot alike, and I guess that explains it all. I like to unofficially call Fontana the West Coast Steel City. It's a very blue collar, hardcore, tough neighborhood, and not tough like, oh, gang infested tough. Like, no, they were all blue collar kids. Everybody's family worked at the steel mill,
At the steel
or in a
mill.
warehouse somewhere. Yep,
Yes,
it's good
and
stuff.
and I was delivering papers when Kaiser was shutting down. Like I was 11, 12, and 13 years old when so I was actually reading the paper because we had a Monday, or excuse me, a 7 day a week, the Sun Telegram. Obviously, you
Mhm.
grew up there, you know exactly what
Yeah.
that is. It's the big paper in the area, and so I actually remember reading about the steel mill shutting down as it was decommissioning over a few years, and then obviously seeing the area change like it did, and then it's now turned into this warehouse mecca that has some challenges to it because it's a lot of bad jobs in the area. Anyway, yes, very working class area. Inland Empire is very working class area. That is exactly why we have this show, is because we're anchored in 4.2 million people in the Inland Empire, which is one of the largest metropolitan areas in the country. Very working class. Everybody, like you said, blue collar, and obviously that's where the commonality is. Hey, Tommy, really appreciate you kind of jumping in at the last minute. Is there anything you'd like to add to this conversation? I've always appreciated the relationship there. Appreciated you coming on the show, but also, it's great to hear from Vince. What a how he's always looked up to you and what a leader you've been in Southern Nevada all these years. I know you and I have worked together for over 30 years in one form or another within the organization of the Teamsters, and I've always admired the work that you do. And I know our friendship goes way back, but it's also good to hear from others. Is there anything you'd like to add here to this before we transition out?
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm glad you had Vince on there. Vince is he's a little younger than us, but he, is a mover and shaker in the political world here in Las Vegas and the union world. The dude, he's got family members that are my members. Um, he's got family members who were on picket lines, on strikes that I called, and supported us 100%. So, I'm glad you're getting people like Vince on your show, because he is a true unionist. Like, some people wear the union hat, but they don't have the union balls. Vince has got them all, man. So, good addition to the show, man. I encourage you to get more out of him, because he's got a lot of knowledge for a young guy.
And so hearing that, that's quite the recommendation from Tommy. Vince, you got to give us a little more here, man. Obviously, you come out of the trades. You guys are willing to throw down. I think labor's got to be a little more aggressive right now. You may not listen to my show regularly, but one of the things that I've been saying is that labor's got to be very aggressive right now. We've got to withhold our labor. We've got to call for a general strike. We got to shut some of this stuff down. We got to stop tiptoeing around this stuff when, like you said earlier, some of these electeds do a good job and they do support labor regardless of their position. However, it's not always been that way, and we need to punish those that don't support labor. What I mean by punish them is vote them out, withhold our labor, shut down either their operations, their corporations, their businesses, or their cities. And I think it's just time for labor to really throw down in this space right now. I think our calling is here in this moment.
Absolutely. Look, I feel that unionism has been on the decline for a while. That's why I decided to run for office, for union office, and show to make a difference, right? And you're 100% correct. When I hear members say the union's weak, the union's this, the union's that, I have to remind them, you are the union. I'm not the union. Tommy Blitch isn't the union. Collectively, we are the union. We are the voice. That's all we are. But you all are the union. So when you're saying the union's weak, you're calling yourself weak. And one of the biggest things I heard is that a union paying your dues is like having a gym membership. It don't mean shit if you're not going and showing up, right? You're not going to get in shape just by paying your dues. It's whether that's the gym dues or your union dues. So you got to go there and put in the work because we're only as strong as our members. And when it comes down to doing the strikes and things like that with some of our contracts up at the test site, last year we had a couple strikes. Teamsters had a strike for a couple days, and then the plumbers and pipe fitters, local 525, they had a picket, and we held strong and ended up getting what they wanted. But I feel like these corporations and such feel like they're entitled and empowered right now with the current administration that we have, and so I think it's allowing them to kind of try to posture a little bit more and try to push. And you're 100% correct. Now's our time that we got to dig our heels in the sand and not give anything up, because a lot of times if we give it up now, it's going to take us 5 to 10 years to get back, regardless of what it is.
And I think that, to your point, is that as much as corporate America has thrown down right now, I think history has shown when workers come together, withhold their labor, and stick together, we win. Like, we absolutely win. Of course, these big corporations or the super wealthy are going to try to run us over. That's what they're trying to do because they want a bigger profit. They want to exploit more people to have a bigger profit. The only counterbalance to that isn't elected officials. You can't put any policy in place that's going to balance that out, or you can't put any policy that's going to replace the power to withhold your labor and force an employer to sit down and say, we're going to come to a mutual agreement. And we just have to educate more of the general public that they have that right and get them to exercise it. So I really appreciate what you got to say. We got a couple minutes here. What would you like to wrap up with?
To that point, right? And I think with the Raiders, the Oakland Athletics, and now with Howard Hughes, Sony, and Warner Brothers, I think it shows a message to big corporate America. Instead of fighting with labor, team up with labor. Work with us, not against us. You will be 100% stronger because a happy workforce works harder. And if you're not trying to take away from us and you're willing to work with us and we could be a team, we can move this ball a lot forward for all. And I'm a firm believer in coalition building and working together. And NV Energy, like I said, the Raiders, the A's, these are all organizations that seek labor's help, and they have great labor relationships now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So let me just ask you one final question. What do you think? We've got our own live radio show. We have our own podcast. We have our own radio network. We actually have our own music channel too. Eventually, it's going to be more labor content that we can dump into that 24/7 channel. And, I don't know if we have multiple billboards electronic billboards across the region. We have 7 buses that have our stuff branded all over it. We are just pounding this labor message into the Inland Empire. It's pretty hard to avoid the Teamster symbol or the message of workers. Right now on our billboards, it states there's a picture of a 1940 strike on the billboard. And on the other side of it, it says, these workers these workers struck for you to have a 40-hour work week. What are you willing to fight for? And what I'm trying to do is agitate this space on a broader scale. What do you think about all this stuff that we're doing?
I love it, man. It's good. I think that honestly, what I believe is we should do is, this is all new information to me. I love to hear more. And I think that what you're doing is the future. We have to tap into the young workforce because they are the future of our unions. And so I think doing things like that, having a radio show, having a podcast, TikToks, and people make fun of me all the time because I'm like, no, dude, you don't got to go on there and dance and do all the funny stuff or the 6-7 stuff, but you really need to tap into the young workers and brand them. Right now, a lot of folks talk about the ultra progressive movement and environmentalists. We should be taking those folks and plugging them into unions and unionism because they're working a lot harder than some of our old school members are. You know what I mean? And I believe that that's the future of our unions.
So let me tell you what we did today on the young workers. We had 1,300 high school kids on our campus here today for our career day, 40 high schools with more than 40 job opportunities where they walked this campus, walked this building, sat in these chairs here in the studio to get the union experience and understand the difference, the union difference in the jobs. That's our commitment with our training center. It's our commitment with our local union. You're 100% correct. We're putting our money where our mouth is. We're putting our boots on the ground. We're agitating that space. I couldn't agree with you more. Vince, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. You feel free to come on the show. We can do an hour-long podcast as well. Not podcast, but live show in our 11 a.m. time slot. And we've got all kinds of flexibility to be able to amplify your voice more or to integrate, because it's not just us amplifying yours, it's you amplifying ours, us sharing what we're doing so that everybody understands on a larger scale. Unions are good for the community. Unions are good for America.
Absolutely. Here in the Southern Nevada Building Trades too, we have a podcast, and I don't want to give a shameless plug, but we'd love to have you on there too as well. So
We'll
this is just
come
a
on.
podcast.
Absolutely. It's not a shameless plug. Plug mine, you plug ours, we plug yours. Like, matter of fact, we'd love to air some of your stuff on our channels too. So let's make sure we connect, and let's get with Robert and make sure we get that out. Thanks for coming on, Vince. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Been Vince Saavedra from Fontana has been on our show. He's the Secretary Treasurer of the Nevada Building Trades. We really appreciate him being on the show. Appreciate you coming on the show. This is the Worker Power Hour with Randy Korgan on the Teamsters Local 1932 Broadcast Network. Mark, take it away to a break.